From Cecil. I realized, old boy, that I hadn't written to you in an awful long time. So to make up for it, I thought I'd sing you a little song. Here you go. Slow down, you fly too fast. You've got to make the journey last. Just knocking back another gin, looking for fun and feeling woozy. Ba-da-da-da-da-da-da, feeling woozy. Oh bugger, I've dropped my gin. Oh hello, outpost. Which pad's going? The need to pee is rapidly growing. Ain't you got no mugs for me? Doobie, I'm feeling woozy. Ba-da-da-la-la-la-la-da, oh, feeling woozy. You know, I'm not sure I've got my timing right. I got no deeds to do, no pirates to kill. I'm dapper and drowsy and feel really quite ill. Let the warzone attack poor little me. I love you, Lael, despite being woozy. There you go, Alvin. If you could pass that along to darling Lael for me, I would be eternally grateful. Now, where did I put my swizzle stick?
The news crew is assembled. The red bulb in the holder in the centre of the desk has been changed for a white one to avoid any possible repetition of last week's misunderstanding about what services were on offer in Studio 5. And the light flares into incandescence as a voice calls out.
Our mics are live.
Good evening from the live radio studio over here at Hutton Orbital. I'm one of your hosts for this evening, but joining me tonight we've got Rudolph Hucker.
Good evening, Wilma. Lovely to see you. Next to me we've got Norma Can't Keep a Secret, Snockers.
Talking of revealing things, Lou, will you please remember to keep your knees together if you're wearing a mini kilt?
It's summer and it's hot.
That's something no one needs to see. It's a really good thing we removed the cameras from the studio, or it'd have taken us off air.
Chance to be a fine thing.
Pack it in, you two. Right, it's time for the headlines.
What about me?
Norma, would you mind?
I meant I'm here too.
Yes, the Harry Balzac is hanging out in the studio again, too. This time we are really going for the headlines.
Are you sure? It's quite fun videoing those two bickering. Last one earned us 50 credits on When Radio Presenters Go Bad, Channel 69 on Skynet.
Yeah, I tell you what, let's just get on with them. Right, and time for the first bong.
Remlock, unlock, airlock, catwalk, sales talk.
Alien life is to be probed by us for a change.
Famous mission pilot says, I'd leave it 5 minutes if I were you.
Chalk shock in confection ejection.
Earworm sellers get a flea in their, well, ear.
At last, something from a brewer that lets you last longer.
In this weather, it's no wonder my HOTPIT is hot off the press.
And it's community news time once again. Shares in Remlock surged this week after the Pilots Federation revealed their new spacesuits and planetary landing survival equipment on a live broadcast. Remlock have been named as one of the number of manufacturers making the latest in space onesies for the intrepid, giant leaping, small stepping kinds of people that will be putting their best foot forward and their print in the dust on newly accessible worlds early next year. With skin-tight underlayers of pressure suit, the latest in insulating membranes and strap-on bits for just about every exposed part to protect you from the elements, these suits are said to be the latest in one-person planetary survival. Able to be accessorised with everything from a bum bag, that's a fanny pack for any of the night shift listening, for all your trinkets, to a jet pack, that's a bluffle bag for those that aren't, and all manner of dangerous-looking weaponry, digital readouts, and of course xenobotanist equipment that wouldn't look out of place at a coloproctologist Halloween ball. They've stolen the lead on other manufacturers who are yet to reveal their hands. Said to be utterly practical, providing support where it is needed the most, protection where you're likely to damage yourself, and the needs of worst Wyeth, the suits suit all shapes and sizes of commander. As long as you're relatively athletic and don't have outrageous gorilla arms or short little dumpy legs. Well, that's me out then. Yes, their patented one-size-fits-all approach using stretchy nanofabrics appears to have excited the markets, and they're ramping up production to steal a march on their competitors. From 3307, you'll be able to perambulate in style and be the talk of the town, courtesy of your very own Remlock body sock and kit lock. Ongoing testing will be able to determine whether, once the restrictions on walking around planet surface are lifted, you'll be able to not only achieve orbits through the tried and tested stand on a crate and hop whilst it lifts off method, but also go the full Baumgartner and skydive your way back to the surface in style. As more details emerge, we'll keep you one step ahead of the galaxy.
Sticking with the planetary information, botanists, biologists and zoologists are celebrating this week after the Pilots Federation announced that they're reclassifying their professional qualifications as elite rankings. To accompany you're mostly harmless, you're totally lost in space, and you're utterly penniless, you can now be thoroughly clueless to boot. Only by sticking your probinator, name to be confirmed at a later date, into all manner of flora and fauna, and then bringing back every sample will you be able to rank yourself silly as a scientist out there in the galaxy. What will you discover on these worlds? Cacti the size of a London bus? Palm fronds that would keep even the most corpulent of imperial senators cool in summer? Space fuchsias and ice planet snowdrops? Will your discovery herald a new era for medication and antibiotics? Will you find foods the like of which human taste buds have never salivated over before? Or will you be chased across barren landscapes by hordes of carnivorous triffids, their stems rattling with rage that you've dared set foot on their planet? We're awaiting confirmation that animal life will also be included in the rankings and what value these rare galactic genetic samples will fetch on the open market. We reached out to Canon Interstellar for comment on the forthcoming regrading of science as something worth an award, but their tinfoil hats were impenetrable and rejected our call. There is wild speculation that a new class of science ship and module is likely to be available on the open market once the restrictions are removed. Mad scientists are said to be cackling with glee that they can now legally own a laboratory of their own without fear of arrest or 100 credit fine and inevitable destruction. Petitioners for deep space exploration missions are working hard to persuade the Pilots Federation that new variants of Scarab are essential lab equipment and have been posting pictures of 21st century Mars rovers with onboard sensors, probes and sampling arms. The jury is still out as to whether existing sites of interest, including space pumpkins, brain trees and of course Thargoid sites, will be included in the legally accessible Xenobiologist Tourist Guide. But there are those that are eager to come face to face with Errol the Scavenger and his friends and actually stick a gloved hand, and presumably a probinator, into the gloop that they spit all over the place. Gone are the days of triple elite. Okay, quadruple elite, but other than Flossy, who's actually dangerous enough to be deadly in CQC. As we herald the era of the quintuple elite and being able to sew your scientist badge onto your pilot's blanket.
Hutton Orbital ground to a halt earlier in the week as a full infrastructure failure was declared, and yet again an appeal went out for the Alvin's Mercy to haul emergency equipment to the orbital to help lift it. Investigations are ongoing, but the most recent incident appears to have started with a visit from one Montgomery Python of the Hutton Truckers, who, after months of working on the BGS and being more than a little backed up from his space food pellet diet, finally touched down at Hutton Orbital and made the run to the nearest cubicle. When he said that he was going to wrestle a crocodile, we were expecting him to just be dropping the kids off at the pool and not going the full giant redwood lumberjack at the fragile Hutton plumbing system. The resultant blockage caused a build-up of explosive gases in the U-bend and blew the pressure relief seals out the side of the station. The resultant biowaste detonation took out part of the station's life support, the entire Hutton Mug and Centauri Megagin production facility, and a wing of passing keelbacks. With the entire Hutton plumbing system now open to vacuum and the contents making a pea line straight for the atmosphere of Eden, the ensuing suction caused a number of pilots to be vacuum sealed in the zero-G Gazunder. Floor mocking guys jet wash to start sucking in just about anything within a 20-foot cone in front of him, including a Momus Bog Spaniel security guard, and set off a chain reaction of gurgling and banging noises that had the Hutton medium wonder if there was a ghost at large. Our very own Commander Lou Snockers, yes, me, was first on the scene. I was queuing for pad 3 after a rather spectacular Hutton run, and managed to make it to the emergency stopcock in time to prevent a full station implosion. Lael Wolf, still resident on the station, is said to be less than impressed that her hydroponic watering system ate her begonias, and a passing Imperial courier is being reimbursed for the cost of a windscreen shattered by a gravity-accelerated fast-frozen bio-waste missile, and the cost of a new flight suit due to a matching one in his undercrackers. This is a reminder for all pilots arriving at Hutton Orbital. Please ensure that you've used the facilities on board your ship before you arrive and flushed away any ensuing monstrosities into frameshift space before dropping into normal flight. After all, we used to do that in witch space, and no one got really upset and invaded us as a result now, did they?
Chocolatiers throughout the galaxy have written to the Pilots Federation with a guilty admission this week after a number of ice planet installations reported brownouts of an entirely different kind from the last article. SRV drivers in the vicinity of a number of food production facilities reported that their vehicles were leaving dirty smudges in the pristine ice fields around the bases, and that they were arriving back in the hangar with cravings for Yorkies. It appears that Splint and Tingley designers of the Cocoa Matte drinks dispenser, the Everyday is a Sunday ice cream machine, and the milkshake machines at McThargoid's that never has any chocolate, managed to fit one of their valves backwards, and instead of sucking in air to add that little bit more froth to your mocha coffee or bubbles in your mousse, it instead ejected a fine cocoa powder through the vents and covered just about everything in the area with a layer of delicious desiccated beans. A number of planetary installations on watery worlds ended up surrounded by chocolate lakes, the likes of which Willy Wonka would be proud and attempt to drown naughty children in. Ivanov Orbital in the Cocoa system reported chocolate devils swirling through the corridors, and Bruce Dock in the Bean system had to deploy security to stop the locals licking all the windows. The company have offered to replace anything damaged by flying cocoa nibs and dry clean the clothing of anyone affected, but have reminded everyone that the ejected powder was totally harmless to everything except your waistline. And even then, you'd need to have cleaned an entire anaconda with your tongue to ingest enough to earn a big thumbs down at the next Weight Watchers meeting.
Operation Earworm finally hit the right note this week, with pilots from across the galaxy tuning in to hear the Delta Pavonis eargrub production facilities tune up and turn on, ready to begin churning out their goods once again. With the bioengineering laboratories back online and with empty ships' holds, pilots loaded up on the rare goods in anticipation of being the first to deliver the grubby ears in over 4 years. That is, of course, where it all started to go wrong. Failing to read the small print is no excuse for smudging your clean criminal record and waxing lyrical about how someone should have told you that just about everywhere is declared to be legal just won't wash with the judge. As we reported last week, the Delta Pavonis eargrubs, whilst legal to produce, are declared illegal just about everywhere, and no, you aren't allowed to have any, even if you do say that they're for personal use or you were just holding them for a friend. The first delivery was made by an unnamed smuggler to the Lave system, though our roving reporter Rex Bottoms reported that the shipment of eerie-sounding eargrubs was much appreciated by Eddie Lee Wise and Sons, plus his daughters, who were attempting to perform the spacefaring equivalent of turning a sow's ear into a silk purse. There are rumours that the great god Yamix is giving one out free with every subscription to his GalTube channel, that there is no link whatsoever between the mind-controlling effect of the grubs and a mass outbreak of Yamix-said syndrome across all galactic message boards. The guard frequency, podcasters and heroic galactic rescue interventionists proudly brought a shipment back to their recently liberated home of Anseath, which, as you'll recall, Hutton helped free from tyranny, and handed them out as souvenirs to all and sundry, before a visit from the local station authorities, who charged them with intent to supply a weapon of mass ear destruction. It appears that a major incident was avoided as, purely by accident, the entire shipment had been irradiated by a neutron star en route and rendered totally inert. So, consider this a warning. Whilst Hutton firmly believes that rares should remain on sale, it should be remembered that just because something can be bought, it doesn't necessarily follow that it should be bought. We'd tell you a tale about Harry Balzac and the Squirty Cream incident, but it's before the watershed somewhere in the galaxy, and we wouldn't want anyone losing their lunch.
In the ongoing saga of fleet carriers and their innovative new fuel tritium, as with any nascent technology, there are glitches, patches, experiments that work, innovations, and of course, abject failures. Scientists working for the Brewer Corporation hailed their latest work a total success this week, as their latest software patch to the frame shift and jump drives of their fleet carriers had even more success than taking your SRV down to that dodgy garage on the corner with a laptop and the promise that you'll get at least 40 more horsepower, mate, out of your Scarab, you know. Yes, by gentle application of a flying road, tweaking of the space-to-fuel ratio, and a good clean of the tritium injectors, they've managed to halve the fuel consumption of fleet carriers. Any rumours that stripping mass from the hulls and skimping on the air conditioning were involved in this titanic jump in effectiveness are just that. Rumours. Share prices in fuel refineries throughout the galaxy have dropped, as each tonne of fuel is now worth about half as much as it was before. Miners have breathed a sigh of relief, though those under the influence of the Dead Horse brand free ear grub are still moaning that 200 tonnes every half an hour is outrageous, and they want to return to the good old days when you could fill your fleet carrier up by just flying past an icy ring with the window open. It didn't stop the Cloud Atlas having a near rat incident this week, as calculations as to the remaining fuel for the return trip to Hutton appear to have gone awry again. With a miscarried 1 and a divide by 0 error, it left them potentially adrift with insufficient fuel to make the full trip. We're delighted to say that after a swift beating with an abacus, the Atlas has made it safely home, and it is looking forward to the extra safety that the improved fuel consumption brings to its expeditions as the official Big Button No. 2 bus. Brewer Corporation have now confirmed that the limit has now been reached on efficiency for its carriers, as there is no more to eke out of the tritium. They can now move on to the ever-growing problem of carrier dereliction and the abundance of space graveyards full of mothballed carriers around popular locations. With fleet carriers proving to be both a navigation hazard and attracting squatters, they're investigating using them as storage for all the excess tritium that no one wants anymore.
This week we've mostly been failing, or at least our infrastructure has. Firstly in Alpha Centauri, and now it's moved to WISE 0855-0714. To be honest, I don't think anything's really failed. I think someone's just messed up an algorithm. Obviously we need to fix WISE, so if you could hop in system, you should find that Alvin's Mercy has all the goods you need. If you need to make some money, Wolf 25 is in outbreak, so trucking meds will do that for you, whilst helping out our sniffly citizens. We don't normally work against other factions, especially not other player factions, but Alvin has asked me to make it clear to the CIA that getting too close to the rear of a spaniel inevitably winds up with having your nose bitten. So, if you're listening, we respectfully request that you drop your influence in Treppin. I'll leave it to the custodian to monitor, but a rapid and noticeable drop is about to happen, one way or the other, if you get my drift. In Avic, the same applies to the Sirius Corporation, but we have no qualms there, just get in and smash them down a few notches. For a change, we're not in an election in Colonia. Well, not for a day or two, I expect. So run missions and drag passengers about, whether they want to be dragged or not, in all of our systems, and spread your data around stations we own. Apart from that, everything's nice and steady, so have some fun.
Evening everyone, Norma here. I've taken my eye off Lou for a few minutes and cast it over what everyone else in the galaxy is up to. First up, say cheese. That's community harnessing extra effort for special effect. A 24-hour special effect charity live stream with Roots Rat starting Friday and 1700 BST. Guests include Kinrain, in disguise as Baz, from the Hillhar Blues, also known as Special Effects, and Alan Stroud of Lave Station, who will tell how the process of writing a story for a game differs from writing a book. Paul Crowther and Arthur Tolmie 2 new community managers for the Pilots Federation will chat about space, and there will be an SRV jumping contest too. Commanders Osrek and Alec Turner from the Buckyball Racing Club will give some tips on how to improve racing times, probably by SRV jumping. Apart from that, there will be some other attractions, games to win, fun challenges and giveaways, including 5 unique special effects inspired paint job and decal packs. The stream will be mostly in English with some Polish segments, and we have an event on our Facebook page. Next, for the murders at heart, we've got the SRV Slaughter Bowl 3306. Episode 2 takes place this Sunday 23rd of August, starting at 2200 BST, 21 game time. This time the first PC match will be in a private group, ILA Uwain. And note that you must request entry to the group before the match starts. This episode is Mad Scientists in Mayhem on HIP 120991A at coordinates -72.7, -67.4 at Stack in Rebase. Details are in the event Discord, and there's a summary on YouTube. Search for Slaughter Bowl, all one word. And the link in the forum post that details the previous episode and also has the Discord information, and it's bit.ly/slaughterball. From Hutton's diary, there's early notification that Commander Shoreside Customs is once again hosting a Hutton and the Guardians event, starting on August 29th at 2100 BST until 2300 on Saturday, August 30th. During the weekend, there will be a trip out to a Guardian site to collect module blueprints and Guardian materials. If there's enough time, a visit to a weapon blueprint site may be included as well. It will be a guided tour, so don't worry if you haven't got any Guardian stuff before. If you'd like to come along, you will need a small ship, DBX is great for this, with point defence and at least 1 SRV. It's open to all platforms, but if you're not a hotboxer, it's worth trying to get together with other like-minded commanders to coordinate. There's an event on our Facebook page where you can get the updates. It sounds like Turning the Wheel initiative rumbles on, with the Dark Wheel supporters looking to expand once again in their efforts to move to somewhere nice en route to discovering whether Raxler is in that direction or not. And that's it from the community for this week.
And thank you very much to the news team. Now, it appears that the Gremlin, the Hutton Duck, and everything else has once again invaded the studio, which means not only is the Hutton ticker flashing like a crazy thing on screen, and not only do we sound like we're actually Hutton Ducks on the radio station, we're really sorry to our radio listener, but apparently we were, yes... We were a couple of octaves higher than we should have been. I think it's fixed now. But if anybody wants to check the radio stream, possibly, maybe, possibly not. And of course, we've got a satellite delay between me and my presenters again. Just like
Seamless.
that. There we go. I knew you'd crash into that. I timed it perfectly. Absolutely seamless. So we're going to be doing some more technical shenanigans over the next little bit to work out why on earth everything else is going out perfectly timed except the comms across the desk to my co-presenters.
I think it's because you keep tuning into the Colonia satellite instead of the Alpha Centauri one.
It could be. I mean, this is about the right kind of delay for, what is it, 1,000 light years. Remember, what is it, 22,000 light years?
About roughly 22, yes.
Do you know, it's no small coincidence that I'm actually in Colonia at the moment. I mean, I sent Cecil back, but I'm currently sitting at Fort Mug on the remote radio station, so this might be no coincidence at all. Or it could be that I'm streaming everything to the radio and the video, and everything's had a bit of a tantrum this week again. So I've probably got an enormous apology to give to Mr. Cal.
Well, that goes without saying.
Right, so joining me in the studio this evening with about a 3-second delay that won't go away until I reboot everything before tomorrow morning, we have Commander Flossy, who I forgot last week, but I'm not going to forget this week, am I, Flossy?
No, you're not going to forget, are you?
That
Hello.
hurts terribly. And
It's a big pan.
oh, it is, yes. Commander Flossy, and what have you been up to this week? Are you still, World of Flossy crafting and being a tail gunner in a World War II edition Sidewinder?
I've been doing a lot in World of Warcraft again. I'm trying to get all my characters up to the top before the next expansion comes in and we get our levels squished.
Right.
Are you my daughter in disguise?
I'm sure there's a lot of people doing the same.
It's exactly the conversation I've had in my house this week.
And Commander Flossy, as you're
I'm
a
afraid
youngster,
I've done very little in these.
sorry, as you're a youngster, Commander Flossy, how were your GCSE results this week?
My GCSE results, well, they weren't this week. They were a good few years ago, but they were pretty good.
9s across the board. You are definitely not mostly harmless at your GCSEs, unlike many other people who've done incredibly well from
9s?
9s. Yes, you don't get A's anymore. You get 9s.
I had 2s and 3s. I didn't have 9s.
No 9s, unless you're in
That's
Scotland.
because they used
9s
a
are
much
good.
better class of slate to write things on then.
Unless you're in Scotland, 9s are good, because 9s are bad in Scotland, but they're not bad south of the border, where 1s are good in Scotland, but 9s are good south. It's just, it used to be universal marking score.
1 to 6. 1 to 6 was pass and 7 to 9 was fail when I was at school.
Eh?
Unless you did CSE and then it was U for ungraded.
Oh, I don't know what the U's
And
are.
in Glasgow, it's a CU.
See you.
U's ungraded. It's not even worth a grade.
Thanks for turning up. Here's a letter. Anyway, and obviously near Flossy with his mellifluous tones there, and definitely interrupting me on the end of every sentence, so he actually times it absolutely perfectly. It's Harry Ballsack.
Good evening.
And Mr. Ballsack, other than cursing the satellite from
yes.
Colonia,
Yes.
how have you been? Have you been cooking,
It's been a very
entertaining?
quiet week. Oh yes, no, not cooking. Was it? No, I can't remember when I had my socially distanced lunch for family that came over. No, that was last week. So no, I've just been quite quiet this week. No, very, very little. Just sitting outside whenever it wasn't raining. It's all just been quiet.
I'm sure there are some
Nothing
lyrics.
of any entertainment value whatsoever.
No, honestly, I'm thinking of some entertaining lyrics to the old theme tune from Record Breakers. Ooh, isolation's what you need if you want to have a jolly quiet life and tell everybody else to bugger off.
Yes, I mean it's a pity. I missed having people coming here, but putting my feet up and doing nothing and just enjoying the company of my my lovely missus. I could pay money for that otherwise, so I'll happily take it for free.
Yes, and well,
Don't forget, I don't have a day job to go back to, so it's not a problem.
well, neither do many of us that want to have a day job to go back to either. To be fair,
I'm sorry, I shouldn't rub that in, should I?
No, why?
But no, the day job. The day job's getting quite exciting, and I'll mention it when I get back to. I'll tell you what, somebody else can interview me with a 4-second lag. But before we do that, we are going to go to Aemilia.
Hello.
And how was Tuesday, Aemilia? Did you kill everybody terribly?
Actually, I didn't because I did get the rolls. You were there. You saw the rolls. But I didn't kill you all.
Payback
You
for
all, you all
last
got off
week.
light, I thought. Exactly.
Yes. And obviously you've got your sort of weekly quotes that you've been putting out all over the place. And feel free to interrupt me with your weekly quotes once you've found them. But, you put together these words of wisdom from your gaming every single Tuesday night. And this week you may have had some absolute sparklers.
Yes, there was a good number of really good quotes this week. But for some reason, my Facebook has died on me and I cannot access it.
Well, if I keep bantering for a while on with our enormous delay before, here we go.
Oh,
you've got them. You've got them. Go ahead.
Yes. So we had. I mean, we get I always try and get about 4 quotes every week, but the quotes this week, and by far my favorite, was okay, guys, and by guys I mean non-gender specific group name.
Okay.
There was hey. That was you, Dave, I believe.
It may have been me. Yes. Yes.
And we had hey, Navman, get off the crapper. And I'm so bad with our sensors that I jam theirs. Yes. And then the last quote was actually something that I actually have a really hard time pronouncing because it's the accent. He's got like a really thick Jamaican accent. He says, "Me crew tell me they want me to front you up. Me say you a chuckle." I'm not going to say that on air. It's a bit early for that. Encoms.
A chuckle funk.
I think we're good, but we're good by 6 minutes. I think.
Good by 6 minutes.
You could call somebody a total chuckle funk. And if you don't know what a chuckle funk is, you
yes,
need
a total chuckle funk.
Yeah, that's the one. Yes.
You're funking head examining.
Shiz nods. And for those of you who don't know what chuckle funks and shiz nods are, one needs to find Barry J. Hutchison and the Space Team books that Aemilia has still totally failed to listen to or read or buy.
I haven't actually managed to get to relax and watch any TV either. So I've not read anything. I've not actually managed to catch up on my series. I've got the Umbrella Academy to catch up on and The Mandalorian.
Where does all of the time go? So, and then of course there's
I know, right?
There's the dead meat.
Good evening.
Tell us all about what happened. I mean, we put it in the news, but tell us what happened with your Hutton run. You were going for the Hutton run, weren't you? I mean, you were really, really going for it.
I was noticeably under Mr. Riverboat's time. According to the fantastic Hutton Helper, where I shouted, "Are we there yet?" And it said, "You're going super fast." And then I dropped out of Super Cruise and fired myself toward the station and said, "Can I have a landing pad, please?" And it went, "No, someone's on it." And normally it's a NPC and you keep requesting and they bugger off and it shaves a bit off your time and that's not brilliant, but And it turns out it was Monty P. So I messaged him and said, "Would you mind vacating the pad?" And no answer.
It's always Monty P.
And I continued to message him and beep at him and park in front of him, flashing my lights at him, and etc.
And using different language, I imagine. You were getting shorter and shorter in your sentences, were you?
Well, in my head, yes. I'm very polite on comms, obviously, because that's recorded.
Because somebody might be recording it.
Indeed, yes. And yes, I continued, and eventually he stayed there forever. And apologised.
And you didn't feel like switching to solo or something like that, because that's just cheating. That's cheating, isn't it?
I had to in the end, because I was going to run out of fuel.
You see,
something.
You think the news...
Get Flossy to come and rescue you because you can't land.
You think the news is all entirely made up, but it's all true, because Monty P had an urgent call of something that he had to attend, and then got distracted.
He did, yes. Yes, I mean, how you forget you've left a Python on pad 3 when there's only one medium pad, I don't know, but,
This must happen to him a lot.
Absolutely, yes.
Oh, I went down into the hangar.
Remember doing Hot Mess when we had that last infrastructure
I went down into the hangar and just
every
left the
time I
ship
went
there.
Every time I went to Alden Prospects, there was Monty P on the pad.
He's gone for a Monty
Every
P.
time.
He is actually a
wasn't-
euphemism now. Monty P has
he wasn't
become a
even in
euphemism.
the hangar. Yes, and not for what it rhymes with. Yes, he wasn't even in the hangar. He was just
Even in the hangar doesn't help.
yeah. He was just blatantly parked there. He could see me waiting. He could see me flashing my lights at him. He could hear me beeping him on comms, but no, he was just in the smallest room of the ship, I guess.
Didn't care one bit.
No.
So,
But, at least it means Mr. Riverboat's still the champion.
So we've got a few things in the basket to chat about this week. Who wants to take away the first one for us as to what else is going on out there? I know we mentioned lots of it earlier with Flossy, but there are some details. Hands up, who wants the first one?
Who knows anything about it? Who's actually listened to the Flight Assist podcast?
Well, I mean, do you want me to take the first one?
I can hear tumbleweed.
Okay, there is definitely tumbleweed.
That's all, because I'm afraid you caught us on the hop there.
Well, for those of us that listen to other things as well as Hutton Orbital Radio, and we're going to look at you suspiciously for listening to other things other than Hutton Orbital Radio, the very wonderful Psychit and Mal for the Win have the Flight Assist podcast where they assemble lots of people to talk to and interviews and all sorts on. Well, they can be found on flightassistpodcast.com, and if you go there, you'll be able to find out a little bit more about what Psychit and Mal for the Win and their special guests are up to. They gather a plethora of people to talk about stuff to do with space and our spaceships a lot. And it is well worth your time if you've got the free time. And then we've also got an appeal.
Yeah, this is interesting because we know that Canon Research are a wonderful bunch of people. Well, most of them anyway. Not that Welsh one, but the others are all really nice. And as the Gnosis has done sterling service and been involved in certain nefarious non-jumping events, which will go down in the annals of history. The Gnosis is being retired. Mm-hmm.
Well, do tell what they were after.
Retired.
Yeah, what were they looking for?
Well, because the Gnosis being Gnosis. We mean when it was being used, or when Gnosis particularly, or
the
what
LCU,
now?
full like one. What was he after for the Life on the Gnosis video competition?
Oh yes, well this is something that because Gnosis is being retired, they want to actually have a nice commemoration of it, something for us to be able to remember it in a very fond way, and so they're looking for a video, people to make a short video. You've got to make it on or based around the Gnosis and what it's done, and anything. The topic could be anything. I don't know, the documentary dramas, a mockumentary thing, some kind of detail of features, anything you want, as long as Gnosis is in there. I think they'd be pretty happy with it. But at the moment, for some reason, people do not seem to be keen to do it, despite the fact that the winner will actually be winning a very limited edition water bottle from Canon Research. So the person who makes it will actually get one, and you can nominate up to 2 people who helped you do it, and they'll also get one. And the competition's going until the 3rd of September, which, when they opened it, seemed like such a long way away. But it seems that everybody's been too busy being furloughed and putting their feet up to actually get around and do a video and actually put some of the well-known talent we have out there into creating a video for them. So get on with it. Yeah.
Get your finger out.
What are you looking at me for? I've got no talent.
Well, you've got a finger.
But yes, so yeah, Canon Interstellar are looking for life on the Gnosis. We know you went to the Gnosis. We know you took part in the Gnosis, and we know you love water bottles with logos on. So at the moment, you're in with a very, very, very good chance of winning because not enough people have submitted information about it. They're all well and good going on the Gal forum and saying, "Oh, remember the Gnosis? That was really good fun when we went with the Gnosis," but they can't actually remember what they did or actually remember to post about it. So at the moment, you're in with a very good chance of winning something lovely from Canon Interstellar if you get onto that. So that's okay. I'm going to go with the address again. Canon. That's CA1N02Ns.science/news/gnosis GNOSIS hyphen, that's a dash, competition / which we will post into the chat channel as soon as Harry Balsack finds his mouse buttons so that people can see it. And there's more information on there as well. So, Commander Deadmeat, I'm going to line you up for the next one as well. We've got more going on.
We have, yes. There's an announcement that says, "Attention buckyballers, all that practicing you've been doing running to Sag A and back is finally about to pay off. Commander Exegius, in conjunction with edtutorials.com, Frontier Developments and the Buckyball Racing Club, is proud to present the Elite Dangerous Colonia Speedrun." And there's a video link which I won't read out because it's a YouTube one, which is just numbers. But I don't know if Mr. Balzac can post that in the chat as well. So this is in conjunction with Buckyball Racing, Frontier Developments and DD Tutorials. The Colonia Speedrun competition entry form is at forms.glee and lots of numbers, which we will also put in the chat. And I'm sure we'll post it to Facebook as an event. The entry deadline is midnight PST on Sunday, September the 6th. So be safe and do it by Saturday the 5th because no one knows what PST is over here. Winners will be announced on Tuesday, September the 8th. It's an engineered competition and the rules are it must be in solo mode and include evidence in video form. All engineering, synthesis, guardian modules and neutron jumps are allowed. Third-party routing tools are allowed. No exploits / cheating. Any ships are allowed. And there's also an unengineered competition rules, which must also be in solo mode and include evidence in the video. No engineering or synthesis. No guardian modules. You are allowed to neutron boost. You are allowed to use third-party routing tools, but no anacondas. That counts me out. That's my only jump ship. Maybe I'll do it in a Sidewinder.
You don't have an asp?
Not a jump asp.
No, jump asps. Oh, I haven't tried a jump asp in ages. I remember when an asp was the thing with 6 guns and but no, no anacondas.
Well, my first trip to Colonia was in a Python of all things.
Okay.
And that was before it was really Colonia. That was when Jax had just arrived there and people went, "Oh, that's where it is."
Okay. So
Gotta admit, I prefer an asp to a conda.
I tell you, somebody posted the other day saying there's absolutely nothing going on. I might as well quit until Odyssey because there's nothing going on. And the only thing we have to say to them is probably, you're wrong. There's a shed load going on.
Bye.
Pardon?
It's a big galaxy, but it's full of stuff.
Yes, space is big.
The
space
galaxy
is also
large, but you cannot move for things.
Yeah.
Yes.
Of stuff to do. So, Commander Flossy, are you there?
Yes.
Are you? I mean, we're missing.
I'm here.
We're missing the CCGs. We're missing the interstellar initiatives. We are missing Flossy and her tune. Well, we've got you new things to do. But, Commander Flossy, did you see the dev diary from earlier this week?
I did, yes. Yeah, it was very good. I enjoyed it.
So, I mean, there's stuff to learn, but if you team between you want to sort of talk about something you've taken away from the Dev Diary this week that's not their 10 out of 10 excited, because I'm bagging that one myself. We'll just go down the list from Harry to Aemilia to Deadmeat to Flossy. Ooh, exciting. Harry, you take it away first.
Well, I thought looking at being able to just walk around the outside of your ship, for me, it's going to be different from being in your SRV. I mean, you go around the SRV, you still don't get the same sense of scale as you will do when you're standing on, well, I won't say necessarily your own 2 feet, because it could be somebody else's.
Well,
but I think that and the ability to kind of maybe crawl up to the edge of a canyon. Yes, go up to an edge of a canyon and look down. Just tilt your head, which I presume we must be able to do. Otherwise you're going to have a lot of falling down poles you don't see.
Or head look, yes.
The ability to look around like that, I think it's just going to be marvellous. Yes. I'm just, and obviously, well, it just looks so pretty.
It's lovely. And
Skies,
so, Aemilia.
Sunrises, sunsets.
I agree with everything that Harry said, and not because I haven't seen the video at all, but because, he's usually intelligent and makes the best decisions. And I'll go with that.
Nicely recovered. Smooth with a shmoo. And the dead meat.
I've only seen the short one, but even that's impressive. I'm saving up the long one to rewatch at the weekend when I can remember to turn chat off.
Definitely, we're talking. It's not what you think we're talking about. We're actually talking about the Odyssey stuff.
Yes, I know. You're talking about the hour-long one. I've seen the 5-minute one.
You were going on about short and long and not being terribly impressive or something. Sorry, I didn't know if you're on the same page as us. Sorry.
That's on channel 69. So,
yes.
Yes, it does. The bit I saw that really impressed me was the new graphics that I think are the iteration from the sneaky concept previews we saw way back at LaveCon. That was memorable not only for the graphics but for getting told off by some of the people.
But I mean, did you see the probinator, the scary-looking DNA probinator, and that looks a little bit like a certain kind of vacuum cleaner whose brand we are not going to mention?
There's the less lengthy video. Will that do? That I saw. He is carrying it, but you can't actually see it in full. So I'm looking forward to having a giggle about that. Yeah.
But Flossie, did you look at the probinator? I mean, you definitely watched this, didn't you? You're not going to let me down, are you, Flossie?
Oh yes. I thought the probinator looked really, really good, and I'm really looking forward to probing some things with this.
It is very impressive, but I can't help feeling it's really just a big boy's version of those pens you used to have with lots of different coloured inks in. It did look like you'd slide one of those things down just to get... I can't help. Sorry, that's what it looked like to me.
Okay, well...
Yeah, I know what you mean. I used to have those as well. No, it looks far better than that.
And the jolly big rifle that he was carrying over his shoulder, and the jetpack. All I want to know about is the jetpack. Is it just hit the button and go the full, Iron Man, Superman, whatever, or is it a bit like a spaceship where it just holds you sensibly level so you can't plummet to the earth screaming, "Oh my God!" all the way down, Anyway.
It could be both.
It could be both, but excited to see...
Both, depending on how hard you hit the button.
I mean, there are whole people who are going to waste, months and months and months just taking pictures of sunrises and sunsets. Because it's beautiful. I mean, forget anything to do. Just the sunrises and sunsets. Oh, it's a different kind of world with a different kind of atmosphere, with a different coloured sun.
Just land on Meteorund and you can get 20 sunsets in an hour.
Oh my God. You see commanders in their Remlock special suits, the head going left, the head going right, the head going left, the head going right, and then feeling a little bit sick, and then their Remlock filling up from the bottom. And on that
And
mental
I wonder
image,
if you can actually join up with other commanders. Can you hold hands? Because then you could make a sort of, or maybe you could make a human pyramid trying to get out of the gravity well of Mitterrand Hollow.
If you can genuinely join hands, then they will try and make a ring around a whole body. They'll find the smallest planet they can and try and make an actual ring of commanders around it.
And then all sing Kumbaya.
I'd like to teach the
If there's a way of abusing it,
in perfect
we'll find
harmony. Hippie skipping.
Good luck with that.
Right, okay.
it. You seekers.
Okay, look, I
So
said, it's
harmony
time.
counts me out.
We've managed fairly well with the 3-second delay, just about. And we're really sorry as the listener if everybody's been talking over each other and the radio station's still going completely rubbish. Has anybody got their ears on the radio station? Are we still sound like Alvin and the Chipmunks?
I listened earlier and it was okay.
I suspect I know what the guilty culprit is here on all the
3
delays and
seconds
everything
ago.
else. Yes. Right. Well, I'm going to hand over to button pushing now. And I'm going to read the script because there's an intro, then there's a thing, then there's Encyclopedia, then there's another thing, and yeah. So I'm going to hand over to you lot now to tell me what's going up next. Aemilia?
So, first tonight, we have a song from the archives. This one is dedicated to all the piratey and PvP types out there. And it's all about the Fer de Lance.
Hutton Orbital, my ship gets broken. 0.22 light years is spoken. Always the truckers are trucking. Always some mugs they are a-cooking. For credits we're looking, and my hard point's gleaming. The innocents are screaming. I like the cobras exploding. Get them in my sights, then coat 'em. I like to kill in my Ferdinand. Innocents die by my Ferdinand. Everything pops with a Ferdinand. Time to go boot to my Ferdinands. When they drop cargo, it's so nice. One look at us and they think twice. I have the best killing loadout. Is anyone left though to take out? Truckers all run through my Ferdinands. Interdict all in my Ferdinands. Shields are all gone to my Ferdinands. You're gonna die to my Ferdinands. Lots of new haulers have spawned here. The happiest we've been all year. They all like to call us cheap thugs. Now that all they want is just mugs. Life is so great in the Ferdinand, making some catch in the Ferdinand, blockading stars in my Ferdinand, taking you out in my Ferdinand. The Ferdinands, pew 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 pew, the Ferdinands, pew 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 pew, the Ferdinands, pew 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 pew, the Ferdinands. Yes, you can pirate all ships, at least 2 Type 6s each trip. Watch them all scatter and then run. Come on, it's just a bit of fun. Or why are you shooting my Ferdinand? Do you think you have a bloody chance? I'm fully armed in my Ferdinand, pirating you in my Ferdinands. Arr, take that, you scurvy dog. Give us your cargo and die. Arr.
Encyclopedia Galactica presents The Corporations, an investigation into the huge companies that make the galaxy what it is today. This week, Vodal. Originally a small delivery company in the Europe region of planet Earth, Vodal, or Yodel as they were then known, were famous for their speedy, reliable service, using their distinctive green vans. However, following the start of World War III in 2044, demand for delivery services really dropped off, and the company spent the best part of 200 years moribund, with a handful of staff operating as mechanics, attempting to keep a small fleet of vans serviceable for when they might be needed again. In the late 2230s, when the Federation sought to bring back under control the colonists in the Tau Ceti system, the mechanics of Yodel were pressed into service to maintain the ground assault vehicles that were to take back Taylor Colony. Following the action and the signing of the Federal Accord, a group of Yodel mechanics remained on Tau Ceti, and created from scratch, using some of the tooling abandoned by the invasion force, a new branch of their company called Vodal, as an anagram of loved. The only company working to develop a suspension suitable for the rough terrain of Taylor Colony, their rugged, multi-jointed suspension and broad wheel arrays proved a hit with the colonists. The first model was called the Dung Beetle, after the only remaining indigenous life on the planet, and it was available in any colour you liked as long as it was black. Capable of carrying 2 chickens and a bag of corn to market, it was ideal for the small farmers of Taylor Colony. Over the years, the outstanding build quality and economical price of Vodal products kept it ahead of the competition. Most transportation was undertaken using spaceships, but there was always a niche for local surface transport. The Stag, the Minotaur and the Death Watch models came and went. By the 34th century, the latest model, the Scarab, was by far and away the predominant small surface vehicle, and Vodal had manufacturing plants in several hundred inhabited systems. In a way, it's a surprise it didn't happen sooner. The profit margin for commodity surface vehicles could never compete with the profits of the really large corporations, making the company an attractive acquisition for a spaceship company wanting to offer a complete transport solution to its customers. To the chagrin of Gutamaya, it was Jupiter Rochester's Core Dynamics that bought out the Vodal management and made Vodal a Core Dynamics mark. The entire design, engineering and manufacturing staff of Vodal was kept on, and Vodal is still run as an autonomous subsidiary with considerable independence from its parent company. There have been rumours that Vodal is working on a new range of larger surface vehicles, and that Gutamaya is interested in developing a range of its own vehicles for Imperial citizens who feel uncomfortable driving around in a federal vehicle. But no matter what the future may bring, millions of commanders will remember fondly their first Scarab. To some they were a utility vehicle, used for collecting materials. For others, they were a means of conducting ground assaults. For a select few, they were very nearly an air vehicle used for racing. They have been driven round entire planets. They have been to the other side of the galaxy. They have been used to transport 2 tons of precious cargo back at a time when gold was worth something. It may be Core Dynamics now, but for all those commanders, the original surface vehicle will always be Vodal.
It's really nice to have him back properly, isn't it? Thank you, Commander Wotherspoon. Learning hasn't been this much fun since Eddie Izzard was a guest on Sesame Street and sang a jolly song with Big Bird about choosing between cake and death. Now, we have another classic sketch from our archive which deserves to have another turn in the daylight. Then we're going over to Flossy for this week's sports results.
Will the commander who left their ship on docking pad 1 please return to it immediately? You are causing an obstruction.
Hello? Hello? Is this thing a piece of crap? Oh, no, that's got it. Right. My name is Alex Quinn, and this is my first personal log entry as the new Chief of Base Security at Hutton Orbital. So, how did I end up here? Well, before taking this job, I was petty officer in the Federal Navy, and it was going pretty well for me. Until, whilst on routine patrol on some backwater outpost, my unit ran into some of the local population that didn't appreciate us being there, and showed that appreciation by shooting at us. Now, normally this would not have been a problem. However, the night before, I'd drunk an obscene amount of Erin in Pearl whiskey in the officers' mess, and was quite squiffy the next morning. It was in this foggy state that I mistook the meaning of my commanding officer's orders of fire at will, and, well, let's just say Captain Will was never the same again after that. I was court-martialed, found guilty, and dishonorably discharged. I had nowhere to go and no job to turn to, so I jumped at the opportunity when the job of Chief of Base Security for Hutton came up. Apparently, the previous chief met his untimely end by way of a faulty airlock, a bottle of mega gin, and an animatronic sheep named Dolly. But the way I saw it, one man's loss was another man's gain. Mine. So, I made my way to Hutton Orbital, and after an interview that was shorter than the actual trip, he asked if I had a pocket for dog treats, and then shook my hand and said I had the job. I kind of thought this might not be the greatest career change for me when the majority of the questioning consisted of being repeatedly asked if I was sure I actually wanted the job. Well, the HR reps said that I was the perfect man for the job. Turns out, I was the only man for the job. No one else had turned up. So, from there, I was shown to my office, which can only be described as a broom cupboard. Mainly because it's actually just a broom cupboard with a table and chair on one side, a picture of his fluffiness Alvin hanging on the other side, and a waste bin with "Give me your trash," and a pair of rather evil-looking eyes sketched on one side. Well, with my predecessor now on his way into deep space whilst frozen in a compromising position with Dolly, and no formal handover, Cookie the intern passed me a short and slightly chewed job description. So, number 1. The anacondas at Hutton are 100 credits. They are not free. Number 2. Do not go into cubicle 3, ever, under any circumstance. Number 3. Keep Cecil away from the mega gin storage. Number 4. Beware that the security teams at Hutton like to shoot first, shoot again, shoot some more, and then when everyone's dead, check to see if they have entered the correct room. Number 5. Do not interfere with Alvin's private security, or you might just get a 0G spaniel in the face. Number 6. For the mug. So, it looks like I've got my work cut out for me. I just hope that not much happens all the way out here. I mean, it's not as if anyone actually comes here deliberately, is it?
Chief, we have a situation here in Docking Bay 2.
Here's what I think of that suggestion.
We've got another one. You won't believe us about the anacondas.
Got me, Meg. That's my favourite one.
We need your assistance, Chief. Over. Looks like his neighbours have taken objection to our shouting. We're gonna need a medic.
Chief Quinn here. I'm on my way. Out. Damn it. End of personal log entry.
The briefing now starting in Conference Room 3 is the introduction to Dark Landing Procedures.
Welcome to the starport. We hope you enjoy your stay and
this table in readiness. The trucking open was unfortunately declared null and void this week after Commander Buana Jim accused the umpire of tampering with his balls. Alvin has declared the Collector Limpets this week's winners. A representative from their manufacturer should report to his office to collect the paint pot. In the .22 light-year dash, this station's very own Loose Knockers led from the start, but was tripped by a Montgomery Python before the finish line, ending both their chances at a galactic record, still held by Brett Riverboat. That's it from the sport for this week, and all winners are invited to borrow the Hutton decal stencil.
And Commander Flossy, that was entirely my fault there, because I left you muted for the entire of the start of that bit, because I was trying to fix the audio problems. How fast can you go through that bit again at super double speed for the benefit of... Yes, please. This is Commander Yoshida. Please repeat the sports. That was entirely my fault. So we're going to go for the super speedy version from the top, if that's okay, Commander Flossy.
Do it as fast as I can.
You got your teeth in?
Right, okay. I'll just have a drink, hang on. Right. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the weekly Hutton Sports results. The Hutton Hunkathon trophy this week was a whitewash, with Light 027 raking up over 76,000 light years, despite stopping halfway for a pee and missing the first two water stops. It was only when Commander Light 027 finished they realised that their shoelaces were untied for the entire thing. In the no-holds-barred full-contact invitational ninja-off, in the Bounty Weight class, Commander Alex Zuno won by 2 falls, 2 submissions and a technical knockout, beating second-place Commander Misa Kurin into a gibbering wreck and cashing in on the 154,259,000 1,026 credit first prize. Final scores were Alex Zuno won, Mizar Kurin didn't. In the bondweight free-for-all class, it was neck and neck between all three pugilists until the final round, with both Simmons and Brinksman throwing in the towel against Commander Argontane, who ended the 12th round on 32,216,266 points. The Clipper Round the Galaxy Tourist Race was won in commanding style by Joshua Mesa, who managed to reach his destination hull intact and without flushing any of them into deep space, racking up an enormous tally of 4,599 passengers. Commander Yorinda Yoshida hit an asteroid and sank, with Commander Chivalry Bean suffering a passenger overboard incident that required a shoop of lame to go and collect. The Mission Masters final was called off due to rain, and the next round is due to be held with the roof closed, giving the home pilot the advantage. Monty the Rocket Python has been at the practice table in readiness. The Trucking Open was unfortunately declared null and void this week after Commander Buana Jim accused the umpire of tampering with his balls. Alvin has declared the Collector Limpets this week's winners. A representative from their manufacturer should report to his office to collect the paint pot. In the .22 light-year dash, this station's very own Loose Knockers led from the start, but was tripped by Montgomery Python before the finish line, ending both their chances at a galactic record, still held by Brett's Riverboat. That's it from the sport for this week, and all winners are invited to borrow the Hutton decal stencil.
Thank you, Flossy. And now, because we know you're all missing him terribly, it's time to hear from our good friend Buck, formerly of Lakon Spaceways, before we head into the weird world of dangerous food with Aemilia and the Galnet Food Digest.
Howdy there, truckers. There ain't nothing old Buck likes more to start his busy day here at Lakon Spaceways than something hot and brown. That's right, a good old mug of joe. And in the evening, when I head home, I relax with good old sipping whiskey. Now, Buck here knows these things ain't made in factories. No, sir. They're made by hard-working farmsteaders. If you're wondering how these hard-working farm types get their equipment and how the grain and beans get to my mug, let me tell you, it's delivered in a Lakon Spaceways Type 7. If you, like old Mr. Naked, need a barn with wings, you'll buy yourself one of these here vehicles. She's uglier than Cousin Peggy Sue, with a forehead bigger than one of my prize steers, and longer than one of old Buck's tails. But when you need to grind that coffee run, she has it where it counts. And for an extra 2,000 credits, we'll even attach them steer horns in front of your cockpit. Now you be careful out there. Them Imperial types don't like you denting their toast racks with your oversized forehead. But rest assured, the Type 7 from Lakon Spaceways will be the backbone of your next farm trip.
Some new owners.
Good evening. This is Aemilia Hawke reporting for the Galnet Food Digest. We try the rarest and most dangerous foods in the galaxy, so you don't have to. This week, with a little more caution than normal, we have headed for the Mulachi system, one of the wealthier agricultural economies in known space. Population sits at a little over 4 billion, and it boasts 2 separate Earth-like worlds from which to farm produce for the surrounding area. Or at least one of them does. Mulachi A1 is a breadbasket of a world, under 600 light seconds from arrival and the perfect location for food traders. Head out into the system, nearly 600,000 light seconds, and the second Earth-like is a different matter entirely. A planet a third of the radius of Earth, and surface pressure twice as high. It orbits a red dwarf, and whilst it is listed as terraformed, unlike many worlds which have had extensive modification for human life, this has only needed a small nudge in the right direction. The combination of low light and the damp, dank natural conditions on the planet have led to the growth of a truly original local fungus. The Mulachi giant fungus is the most prevalent form of life on the planet, and standing on the surface truly gives you one of the rarest sights in the galaxy. Whilst there is other natural life on the planet, the Mulachi fungus itself can grow to the size of entire continents, creating eerie landscapes covered in tall stems with umbrella caps, huge wide plates the size of landing pads, suggestively shaped protuberances, and terrifying carnivorous fungus that catches local insects and devours them slowly over many years. It is worth noting at this point that the low gravity causes insect life on the planet to evolve to gargantuan proportions, and it's not unusual to see dragonflies the size of a taipan buzzing overhead. With the dim light from this star and this astonishing canopy, it is an Earth-like unlike any other. You can imagine a giant caterpillar sitting on a huge mushroom, hookah in hand. For many, this alien landscape is as terrifying as the Thargoid structures. For others, like myself, it is purely a gastronomic challenge. Whilst meats, real or factory grown, are still popular as a source of protein throughout space, the ever-increasing needs of vegans have led to huge fungus farms. Yeasts, molds, including penicillin and more modern derivatives, even rumours of weapons used to defend humanity against the Thargoids. All of these are courtesy of our friend the fungus. The humble shroom is added to everything from a pilot's essential English breakfast onward to oriental soups, truffle-infused oils, and right through to a hippie's belt pouch at a festival. The Mulachi giant mushroom has found fame, however, as a rare delicacy. The edible variety is found in groves of enormous thick-veined balls. Long ridges cover the surface, and there is a musty, yeasty smell in the air near them. Prepared, dried, and grated into any dish, they impart a flavour quite unlike anything I've ever tasted. It is fragrant but musty, earthy, and the aftertaste can only be described as similar to petrichor, the smell that hovers over the earth after a good rainfall. Carved and eaten as steaks, the texture isn't rubbery or slimy as one might expect from poorly cooked mushrooms, but thick and meaty. These are protein-rich in a way that many other foodstuffs aren't. In all, it is a delight, however it's prepared. Eating the steaks, I don't actually miss the fact that they weren't once roaming the plains somewhere and chewing the cud. Grated into arancini, it brings back memories of autumn mornings just after the rain at home. So, why is it rare? The whole continent's covered with Mulachi fungus. You would expect it to be plentiful. What's more, where's the danger? What appears on the face of it to be a huge mass of fungus is in fact a diverse ecosystem comprising toadstools, molds, mildews, and smuts. The veiny edible balls are rarely found, What's more, they're deadly. The spores, should they enter your respiratory system, slowly turn you from the inside out, from an intelligent, articulate member of the human race into a mindless forum zombie, lurching from thread to thread and moaning in the most disturbing manner, before it takes over. Those infested with the spores report visions that would have kept the 70s fad for concept albums going right up until the 3300s. Obsession with legs and feet seem common, as does a penchant for a bit of afternoon PvP, before proving unavoidably, incurably, absolutely, and finally fatal, of course. So this is the mycoid equivalent of fugu, of blowfish. Once harvested, every last tiny spore needs to be removed before it can be served. One error, and your diners turn into mindless, drooling creatures intent on devouring anything they find before sitting down, taking root, and sprouting spore-laden hairdos that spread yet more of the fungus. Chefs have to be trained for decades in these skills, and due to the risks, there are very few of them in the galaxy. So, it's abundant, but nobody wants to take the risk. As for me, well, I'm a natural risk taker, and the risotto I'm about to be served might be the last meal as a freethinker. But like a Hudson voter, at least I'll go with a smile on my face and ignorant bliss behind my eyes. I'm Aemilia Hawke, reporting for the Galnet Food Digest. I'm sitting here wondering whether I'm seeing things, or that caterpillar just puffed a smoke ring and flashed me a toothy grin. The Galnet Food Digest. We try the galaxy's most rare and dangerous foodstuffs, so you don't end up believing everything you read on Galweb. Next week, we're moving from natural foods to the heavily processed, and trying out TLC waste-to-paste units.
Thank you very much, Aemilia. And now it's time to head over to the other studio for The Sky Tonight.
Good evening and welcome once again to The Sky Tonight. I'm Serenity, and as always, I'm here to guide you through the skies around Hutton, as well as the science, sights and sounds of the galaxy we call home. As ever, I have with me to help educate, entertain and exasperate our correspondent from Ut North, the supremely down to Hutton, the northern ninja himself, Norman Ski.
Hello everyone. This week we'll be talking about stellar flares. What are they? How do they come about, and who was the first one to attempt flying through one to fuel their ship?
So,
what does it all mean?
He's supposed to say that.
Aye. What does it all mean?
Stellar flares are a sudden increase in brightness on a star's surface, usually in close proximity to a sunspot group. Flares are often, but not always, accompanied by coronal mass ejections.
Ejections, they say. Oh.
The relationship between flares and coronal mass ejections is not yet fully understood. Flares are also closely associated with the ejection of plasmas and particles, as well as electromagnetic radiation across the electromagnetic spectrum at all wavelengths, from radio waves to gamma rays. Most of the energy is spread over frequencies outside the visual range, and so the majority of the flares are not visible to the naked eye and must be observed with special instruments. Because of this, flares can trigger powerful stellar storms if they interact with the upper atmosphere of many planets around the star.
My 25 times great-grandfather apparently wore flares that had the same effect in the 1970s. Anyway, such events, stellar flares, not fashion fails, risk the safety of astronauts, spacecraft and satellites, as well as terrestrial electrical grids and radio communications. For these reasons, it's essential to be able to predict the occurrence of such events.
The prediction of solar flares has always been difficult because it's not completely certain how they're triggered. This led to issues with preparing for the impact of solar flares being felt on some occasions with almost no warning due to high energy particles which may be relativistic that arrive almost simultaneously with the electromagnetic radiation. The radiation and particles from stellar flares travel at the speed of light, meaning that observations of the local star can give indications of their arrival only at the same time they become visible on the surface of the star. In the early 21st century, the so-called Kappa scheme, I wonder what happened to the schemes Alpha through to Iota, enabled Earth-based scientists of the time to predict the occurrence of solar flares many hours before they happened. The Kappa scheme, unlike previous methods which only had a 50% success rate at most, relied on the presence of strong magnetic fields associated with flares.
Before a flare begins, electric currents flow along stars' magnetic field lines. When two of these lines overlap, they undergo a process known as reconnection, snapping the lines together and releasing a vast amount of energy. A solar flare. Magnetic reconnection may happen on stellar arcades. I'm told this has nothing to do with beer from the ancient Earth-based territory of Belgium. Stellar arcades are a series of closely occurring loops following magnetic lines of force. These lines of force quickly reconnect into a lower arcade of loops, leaving a helix of magnetic field unconnected to the rest of the arcade. The helix is known as a double arc loop. This field line then moves upwards as the instability grows, allowing further, smaller pairs of loops to reconnect underneath it. Over time, this creates a positive feedback loop that ultimately releases vast amount of energy. I wonder if it sounds like knicker elastic being pinged. Anyhow, the sudden release of energy in this reconnection is the origin of the particle acceleration. The unconnected magnetic helical field and the material that it contains may also violently expand outwards, forming a coronal mass ejection.
The discovery of this magnetic field-based mechanism was aided by the presence of the groundbreaking Solar Dynamics Observatory, SDO, launched a few years prior to the discovery itself. In current times, the presence of stellar flares and the ejection of mass they are associated with has enabled us to harness this effect to refuel stellar craft. No one quite knows who first thought of this and tried this manoeuvre, but historians suggest that the first attempts may not have been successful, and indeed it may well have taken concerted efforts by a number of trucker-like individuals before success was attained. A claim by the family of our own Dick Chafin claims that several of their distant ancestors were brave, I say stupid, enough to pioneer this technique. The fact of the matter is that we simply don't know. Next week we'll be talking about something else, but I'm not saying what it will be since last week someone nicked my jokes that I planned for use for this week. Not making that mistake again. Make up your own jokes, Hucker. Until next week, I've been Sir NAT.
And I've been awesome.
Hey! He's been Norman Ski.
And we're back. Crikey, I'm overdosing on science. Mainlining the astrophysics.
I've got a headache.
It's been an informative show this week.
Yeah.
Oh dear.
Yes, we've learnt lots. We've learnt that you need a new internet connection.
Oh.
Yeah.
Or a new piece of string at the very least.
I know, the damp string has let me down this evening. I'm going to go and have a lie down in a brightened room, not a darkened room. But no, thank you very much to everybody. I mean, it's been fantastic listening to everything. Aemilia, that was legendary, seamless and smooth with a schmoo.
Legendary.
Yeah.
Smooth with a capital smooth.
So how were your Mulachi mushrooms?
I love Mulachi mushrooms. I love mushrooms. All mushrooms are good.
But you're not suffering any side effects. You've not turned into a forum zombie yet, I hope.
And no, the only side effects I'm suffering are from Hutton coffee.
Now, tell us all about the Hutton coffee, because we mentioned it a few weeks back, the varieties of coffee that were available, but the Hutton brand coffee is it's not even rare, it's ultra rare, as in you can't actually buy Hutton coffee.
Yes, this is true. It's also possibly the strongest coffee I have ever experienced. It's guaranteed to keep you awake on those late night trucker runs.
Well, yes, we did notice that there was one particular live stream when the Galactic intern, when he was still there, Ed Lewis, had 3 cups before going on air and jibber-jabbered his way through an entire stream on Frontier at one point.
Awesome.
So, other than that, do we have any announcements, Palantir, for next week?
We do. It's the last show of the month. And that means...
that's easy. That's a Hutton mug. No, it's not a Hutton mug. That's a Guardian Ruin. No, it's not Guardian Ruin. No, it's a Thargoid. No, it's not that. What is it?
No, it's not. It's more important than that. It's a green room.
Yay!
Your chance to talk back to us.
Well, assuming we haven't still got a satellite.
If you've got something you want to say, come on. Yeah, well, maybe if they start speaking now, you'll get it by next week.
You've got a week to fly back; it will be fine.
Yeah,
and we have an apology officer to give the apology officer, because the apology officer has been sitting there typing all the headlines and everything we've been talking about into the ticker, and the ticker's on the blinker. The poor ticker is feeling desperately unwell.
I just think it's her spelling.
Okay, so it's a green room week next week.
It was a difficult word. She could still try to get it in there. Can't do it. Yes, green room. Yes,
green room next week, which means you get into TeamSpeak server ts.forthemug.com and go down to the green room, and then come and join us at the end of the show. And hopefully, without all the technical snafu of the last 2 weeks, we can have a chat with you and say hi. Yeah, I mean, I'm not even going to try dragging Ken.
We had technical problems a month ago.
Of course,
we had a month ago for Green Room. We still had problems. Yeah, Cal couldn't get it to work. Then luckily
that was
it was
because of the Zoom, wasn't it?
Luckily
it had been a very hot day, and there were only 3 people in the Green Room that month.
Okay.
I mean, that's a very low number, but for once that was actually quite useful, wasn't it? Because they wouldn't have been able to speak anyway.
Any comment from our viewer this week, or they're being mysteriously silent? Because I can't even read what they're saying now. So, any comment from our viewer? Anything anybody wants to read out? If not, we're going to head towards the end of the show at speed.
No, everything's fun. Nobody's complaining.
No,
they are typing. They're typing slowly because they know you can't read very fast.
Ticky tappy. Right. Well, good night to everybody. Thank you very much, everybody, all the presenters for this evening and your input. It's been awesome. Thank you to the Sky at Night by Commander Snos and Commander Wotherspoon, who did it's the Encyclopedia Galactica. And I wonder what's coming next week. We've had Vogel. Are we going for the full brewer next week? Possibly.
Who knows?
There was a comment in the Twitch from Ryan DTW. This is Commander Yuri Rashida. Can you please repeat the sports? I only hold passengers for the purposes of filling the ARCs cap of 400 ARCs a week.
Right. Well, if somebody can crack the door open, we'll see if the apology officer's on the tannoy this week. But
This is a staff announcement. The Anaconda production line has jammed again. Could someone get Bernie to go in there with a stick and give it a shuggle? Thank you.
Situation normal over at Hutton Orbital. Well, I tell you what, thank you very much, everybody. I'm going to go back and try and work out why the connection from Colonia is quite so shocking. So, other than that, it remains for us to say thank you for tuning in, and an enormous for the mug to everybody.
For the mug!
And I'm going to go and beat this antenna into shape. So I'm just going to leave you with our what is now our standard end of the show tune and enjoy the rest of your evening and your weekend, and in fact the entire week until next week. That's it from us.
No journey too long and no cargo too small. The profit margins never really mattered at all. We're gonna take the cargo where it's needed today. Super cruising all across the Milky Way. We'll take anything, anytime, anywhere. Loading up the T-9s to the brim with grain. For the mug, yeah, you know just where we're coming from. For the mug, now everybody sing the Hutton Trucker song. For the mug. Flossy always seems to crash into the sun. Swivel likes the pilot on the Xbox One. Alvin at the front, you know he leads us well. Trucking across the galaxy, now everybody yell. For the mug, yeah, you know just where we're coming from. For the mug, now everybody sing the Hutton Trucker song. For the mug, yeah, you know just where we're coming from. For the mug, now everybody sing the Hutton Trucker song. Give me a launch pad that I can land on, and I'll give you my cargo and sing you my song. No part 22 light years to go. Cruising to Hutton, whoa, whoa, whoa. No journey too long and no cargo too small. The profit margins never really mattered at all. We're gonna take the cargo where it's needed today. Super cruising all across the Milky Way. We'll take anything, anytime, anywhere.